started. We just came back from break. Again, this is the 24th annual Booker T. Washington Economic Development Summit, and we are virtual this year. Hopefully, as Ms. Craig said, we will be in person next year and can see you face to face. But right now, we have an outstanding presentation coming up from Director Terri Pringle, Director of the Employment and Economic Development from the South Alabama Regional Planning Commission. Without further ado.
Thank you, Dr. Vaughn. Certainly it is a pleasure to be here with you this morning. And I would like to say you saved the best for last. However, the previous panel was awesome. I really enjoyed that discussion. I think we probably could have continued that for several hours, but appreciate the opportunity you've given me to bring information about the regional councils in a small part of what we can do for small businesses. So let's get started. What you see here is the regional council map, because there are regional councils throughout the whole state of Alabama. We are number 8 down here at the bottom and working through Hurricane Sally. I'm sure all of y'all have heard about that. But there is loan programs at each regional council, and it can differ. So I'm going to speak from the perspective of our loan program so that you can have an idea how it really works. But there are several different kinds, and so you would want to contact the region and see what they would have specifically for your case. So we are South Alabama Regional Planning Commission. We do have the Revolving Loan Fund, and I'm going to give you a synopsis of basically what it will do. The purpose is for economic development. We have these funds that have been given to us from EDA, which is Economic Development Administration. We also have some funds from the Alabama Economic Development industry as well. The whole purpose of these funds is to create jobs. You can't improve your community if there's no jobs. You can't have jobs if there's no businesses providing the jobs. Therefore, that's why there is that focus on these dollars, is to help startups and expansion businesses create and retain jobs. This is what really keeps our communities and our revenue going. Our target for us in this area, and I heard a gentleman in the panel before, is pretty much the same as his. Mobile area in our region is really heavy in service and manufacturing. They also discussed about tech. This is something new that we're dealing with as well. And he's right, as far as industries and banks looking at providing capital for that type of industry, they have to be familiar with it. This is something we just started doing. We have funded some tech industry through our funds, but he's right. It's something we're learning. How do you actually fund the tech industry? And here's the challenge. Even my lawyer said, okay, Terri, how can we put a lien on something we can't touch? So that is the total challenge. And what we try to do is find other avenues to connect to and to make these projects move forward. The target recipients are startup businesses, expanding businesses, and diversifying businesses. And what I mean by diversifying businesses, this is maybe an industry, let's say, especially now, you have an industry that's been making t-shirts. Now they want to add making masks because of all the demand for masks. I mean, obviously that would be a great revenue maker right now, but they don't have the equipment to make the masks. They have the equipment to make the t-shirts. Well, then they might need funding to get the equipment that would make the masks, therefore diversifying the type of business that they are actually doing. Fund uses. The funds can be used to purchase property, renovation of existing business buildings, purchase machinery, equipment, and even working capital. The parameters for our program, now I'm not talking about statewide, but for our program specifically, is 10% injection from the owner. And I really, really appreciate the panel that spoke prior to me, and their focus on having the person, the business owner, prepared for funding. You cannot say that enough. The idea that, okay, are you going to get in just a little bit? You're going to just get your toes wet? Or are you going to get in and be submerged in what you're doing? And I appreciate the fact that they were saying you need to know up front what your plan is. You need to know how much money you're going to need. And typically, I like the way they were saying you would be in a better position seeking money when you're needing it for growth. That was a great statement. And here you see what's mentioned, the $20,000 per job created, because what I tell you, the focus is creating jobs. The minimum we can do is 10,000. The max is 125, well, probably about 75 now, because they've kind of, EDA's brought down some of the regs on us. Now the terms pretty much are going to be like a bank. 1 to 3 years for working capital, equipment's 5 to 7, and that depends on, you know, how long they look at the livelihood of the equipment, because the equipment's going to wear down, right? So it's going to be based on that. Getting property and building, we would allow about 12 years. Here are our rates. We cannot have any less than 4%. Here again, it's an EDA, it's federal funded, so they set those parameters. However, our rates are fixed for the duration of the loan. There's no such thing as a balloon, a surprise in the next 5 years or whatever. The rate is determined up front, and it is maintained throughout the maturity of the loan. If the person, and this is what happens with our clients quite often, after they get the funding and they're doing great, they want to say, okay, Terri, I want to take you out because really, you know, I'm doing great. I really don't want to have this loan. Sometimes with other industries, there is a prepay penalty because they count on that money that you're having to pay for the loan to help them maintain their business. We are a nonprofit organization, so we don't have those restraints. So there is no prepay penalty. You get the loan out, you take it out for 5 years, and in 3 you're going gangbusters and you're saying, you know, I want to pay you off. Great, pay us off and we'll turn around and put the money and give somebody else the opportunity. So here's the process. Application, obviously we need to know who you are, need to know, you know, what kind of background you have. You know, have you been making t-shirts with your family for what, 15 years? Or, you know, have you been making t-shirts and now all of a sudden you want to be a dentist? Have you had that experience? So we want to know, do you really know what industry you're going into? The business plan. Golly, this was another great thing that your panel discussed about the importance of having that plan and how you can get it for free from this. And we're using acronyms, and I apologize. This is the Small Business Development Center. We have one here. It is actually the University of Alabama has an office at South Alabama, but there are SBDCs throughout the state. Here again, because of what's being done here in this summit, you have access to this information. And this is awesome, an awesome opportunity for you. Because the business plan, you know, is your Bible. It's going to give you direction on, hey, okay, 1.5 years, 2 years, you go into it and you go, okay, I'm not making the money I was making earlier. How do you know? If you don't have a business plan and can go back and look, where am I supposed to be at this point? And so the business plan is great. And I like the analogy the gentleman said earlier about a baby. You know, you plan on a baby. Well, you want to have the room, you want to have the diapers, you want to have the food. I mean, you want to be prepared. Going into business is the same way. You want to be prepared. It's not like you get prepared as you go. No, you need to have that plan up front. And then that's the only way industries are going to be interested in providing capital and money to you when they know you actually have a plan in mind. Hey, this is where I'm going to start. This is where I want to go. And this is where I want to end. Much easier to help someone find funding that has that kind of plan in mind. Then, of course, the credit and financial review. Yes, credit is considered. Here again, it could be indicative of character and how one handles not only their personal finances, but are they going to be able to handle business finance? The whole idea is we don't want to just give money, nor does anybody that provides loans, to someone that just says, okay, let me try this out. And if it doesn't work, oh well. We want to make sure whoever we're lending money to, they're going to be there for a good while. Why? Remember what I said the reason was that we have these funds? To create jobs. We want those jobs to stay in that community and continue to be that impetus of having revenue continually rolling in that community. So that it is important that we have a financial review and the credit review. Now, we do look at the whole package and their backgrounds, and if there's problems that they've had in the past and then that's been straightened up, that's great because it shows growth, right? But it is things that we do consider, and we can, grow you through that through technical assistance, as you heard the panel share with you previously. Then collateral determination. Ours is a project and funding that is based on some on the collateral, obviously, because we need to know, since we're responsible to report this back to EDA, Economic Development Administration, and to the state of Alabama, if something happens to the business, are we able to recoup any of the funds that we actually provided that business? Because the whole idea is we need to keep the fund going to help other businesses and help the communities to grow. So that would come into play as well. Then, of course, we have all this reviewed by our loan committee, and the loan committee is made up of persons that are in business. We have persons that are with the chamber. We have lawyers. We have CPAs. So we try to get economic development, SBDC. So we try to get a variety that will give us a good background on, number one, bankers. A lot of times when I present a loan package, the bankers are like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. This is too risky. Well, the whole idea is the funds that we have is to take a greater risk than the bank, because we know the banks are regulated to the hilt and really can only do certain things a certain way. And with these funds, this is for economic development. So we can look at something and say, you know what, maybe a startup, a bank's really not interested in doing a startup. Let's look at it though. If it's strong, if the individual's strong, they have that experience, we could really see about making this a go. And then we also have the opportunities of partnering with banks, because maybe they will go a certain amount, but they can only go to a certain amount. And then there's some left over and they're like, well, it's a great project, but we can't fund it all. And then we can step in and do gap financing and make that project go through. And I'll explain that in a little bit further. Loan closing. Well, it's conducted by an attorney because they have to, of course, do all the forms and sign off, and just like getting married, right? And next. And that would be, the cost is like 1.5%. That's just the closing fee, attorney's fees, and recording fees. And then it's separate from the bank if we are doing a participation, because the bank has to do their closing first before we do ours. Since we are doing the gap, they have to come in with the larger amount if it's a participating loan. And then, of course, the check is presented to the business owner. So we don't have to go to some other city or some other area and ask for approval of the bank or wait for some kind of decision to be made. All this is done locally. And we, of course, with us, we service Mobile, Baldwin, and Escambia. But there are regional councils that service whatever county you live in. Okay, let's look at some examples. I think this will probably help you see more clearly how this is being used. We've provided funds for a restaurant, event planner, software developer, preparatory daycare, and power washing, which was commercial and residential. So a variety. We've even done, a gym. I mean, it just depends on what the community has a need for. Okay, let's look at some examples, because I think this will show you more what I was talking about, the participation. Here was a private fitness training facility we did years ago. And the bank could do the 306,000, and then they use SBA for 172. But look, the total they needed was 669. How are they going to get there? This one just happened to have an owner that did some injection, but then we were able to, at that time, do an injection of 125. So when you look at just what the bank could do and then what the total was, the project was moved forward because of other participation. Here's an auto parts shop. The bank did 225, but look at the very bottom. It's saying 325. Well, the owner came in with 50. We came in with 50. So then here again, we were very instrumental in helping the project move forward. Here's our hardware. Look at the bottom of this, 675, but the bank did 450. The owner came in with 100, and then of course we came in with 125. So can you see what I'm talking about as far as, yes, there might be limitations set on the bank, but if the project actually requires more, just because the bank can't do more, it doesn't mean it can't be done by other resources. Child preparatory, this was really a convoluted one because there's much participation. You had the bank at 215, and here, look at the total, the 365. Not only did you have owner financing and then the seller financing, we also came with financing. So here again, you can see the difference. Even though the bank can say they can only do so much, hey, there's other resources that maybe can make that project go through. Power washing, what do you see different on this one? There's no bank participation. But we were able to help, this was a startup, we were able to help this gentleman with funding to start his business. He's been going gangbusters. I mean, it was great to be able to be a part of this, I'll be honest with you. Fantastic young gentleman, and actually going into many other avenues now as a result of just starting with this. And you know, that's sometimes, and here again, I really appreciate your panel prior to us, considering where to start. You can build and grow, but you can't start thinking, okay, I'm going to make $1 million and go after that, when you need to start and make sacrifices first and then build and use these resources to assist you in that building. You know, we as Association of Regional Councils are here to serve you, the small business owner. And the main thing we want to do is to help, and if you'll go ahead, Karen, stand in the gap for you, because there might be opportunity where we can actually make that whole project complete when otherwise it might have been missing some of the funding. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Director Pringle. We appreciate the presentation. And if there are any questions, please put them. Okay, well, we appear to have one from Mr. Ed Hudson. The question is, in participation scenarios, would the bank also require injection / down payment?
Wow, great question. Great question. Let me put it like this. Yes, they usually do, but if they do, you don't have to have a separate one for us. Okay, so it's not like you have to have an injection for the bank and an injection for us. If you have an injection for the bank, that takes care of us. I hope that answers that question.
If there were any other questions, please put, okay. Okay, well, any other questions? We do have quite a bit of time. I did have one question.
Sure.
Myself. It appeared that, and maybe you said it or perhaps it's statutory, but by and large, the minimum that a borrower has to put in themselves is 10% of the total project cost?
That's correct.
Okay.
You know, here again, the idea is not to burden the small business owner. We're trying to find ways to assist individuals in starting up programs and expanding their programs, again, to create more jobs. in whatever communities that they're in. That's the whole purpose.
Okay. And we have one more comment. All of the attendees, we're able to bring these programs to you because of federal and other kinds of funds. And to do so, we really have to be able to show that there was an impact. One of the greatest ways for us to show that impact is for us to have questionnaire results. So what's been posted in the chat box is a short session evaluation. So if you could please click on that link, it's going to take you to hopefully another window and open up a Google form for you to fill out. We cannot overstate the importance of evaluation for the continued support, federal support and state support for these programs. So please, as many as possible of you that can, go ahead and fill out that form if you're not on the phone, and most of you are online. Please do fill that out. They do matter, they do count, they do help us out quite a bit. Also, if you have any other questions, Q&A. Okay, well, we have one compliment. It says, thank you, Ms. Pringle, excellent presentation, from Danielle Richards.
Great, thank you.
And so unless there, okay, we have one question that's been placed in the chat box. And the question is, has the program ever funded art-based companies, parenthetically music/visual arts?
Mine has not. I can't say that for the other regional councils because there might be a different concentration there as well. That is a great question. That is a difficult one, I'm sure, as you already know, to find funding for. But I would contact the regional council in your area because they would be the ones that would have those resources for you.
Did that answer your question, eKid? Okay, they responded yes.
Thank
All right,
you.
any other questions? Either in the, we're looking in the chat box, we're looking in the QA box. If anyone has any additional questions for Director Pringle. Oh, we do have one question from Gwen Harris for Director Pringle. Who would be the regional contact for the Marengo County area? Can
you send that to me and I will follow up? Yes, I will send them the name and number.
Yeah.
Thank you for this opportunity. I think it's awesome that you have brought this quality of resources together, and there's more to come, I know, and I appreciate just being a small part of it.
All right, well, thank you so much, Director Pringle. We hope that you will stay safe in the next coming week.
Thank you.
And we appreciate your contribution this morning and hope that those who can get in contact with you, I think you did put your information up. And unless there are any other questions, comments, which I don't see any, I see Dr. Sean Gay and Mr. Walton are closing us out with closing comments in the chat box. So at this point in time, if our technology services people would close things out, and thank you so much.